aren't they something? I'll tell you, I worked with a lot of musicians and people over the years in ministry, and I've done a lot of guest speaking at other folks' churches, and I'll tell you, we got the best here. They are something. All you guys, you know. And so I'm privileged to be a part of that kind of a group of folks, and so thank you. And thank you to Reverend Doris, who couldn't be here today. She's out visiting her son in California, and gave me the privilege of speaking to you this morning, and indeed it is a privilege to do that, and to continue this conversation of truth that we began last week with our series, I Am an Instrument. And last week we began with the idea of peace, and today we move on to this idea of love. And if you notice, we're kind of going through a little color theme here, if you noticed. All of us got up here wearing the various red shirts representing love, and last week white for peace, and we've got a green, there's a green shirt out there. So anybody wants a green shirt? I think there's some available in the bookstore. If I hope I'm saying the right thing there. I think we do. So if you don't have any green to wear at home for next week, we've got just the attire for you. But we continue this exploration of the prayer of St. Francis, and today this portion of the prayer. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be loved as to love. A couple of weeks ago in our Lessons in Truth class, which we have here on Tuesday nights, we started talking about the nature of God. And one of the things that we discussed was that God in unity, at least as we understand God in unity, God is not some guy up in the sky somewhere looking down on you, kind of like Santa Claus trying to determine whether or not you've been naughty or nice. If you're naughty, you get the thunderbolt. If you're nice, something good happens. I mean, that's the way many people grow up thinking about God. That God is this guy up there. But we understand in unity that God is spirit. God is spiritual energy. God is love. And as we are talking about this word God, this very loaded word called God, someone said, if you spell God backwards, it's what? Dog. So we got into this great conversation about dogs and how all of our dogs, unless you have that Rottweiler guard dog, all of our dogs represent this quality of love, because they're always loving us unconditionally. No matter what we say to them or how we look at them or what we're doing, they're just there to be loving and supportive of us. And so we got talking about this and how they express love. And of course, I had to talk about my dog, Tito. I mean, any dog named Tito has got to be the friendliest dog in the world, right? He is. He's the friendliest 70-pound golden retriever you ever see in your life. When I get home from work, he's standing there right by the front door. I don't know how he knows I'm coming in the door, but he does. Standing there with his little bear in his mouth, little stuffed bear, for me to throw for him. That's like his little offering of love. And there's something about Tito that I love so much. I want to have what he has. That love that's always pouring forth all the time. I want some of that. I want it so much. Sometimes I get down on the floor with him, not next to him, I mean around him. Like this, Do you do that with your dog too? You don't have, oh, you do. Go ahead and admit it. But I just want to soak it up. I want to be there with him. I want him to look up at me and he wags his tail while we're doing that, so I think it's okay. And if you happen to notice any blonde hairs on any of my clothing, no, I'm not going through one of those midlife crisis things where I got this blonde, no, it's Tito. Tito. And one time I was lying on the ground with Tito, and we were having one of these little love hugging sessions. And my son Daniel, who's here today, but I won't point him out to you, he looks down at me and says, "Dad, you need a therapist." I looked up at him and said, "Daniel, this is my therapist." So to all of us who have these canine therapists, what are we learning from them? We're learning that being an instrument of love is what it's all about. That we're here in this world to be instruments of love. Let us say together our affirmation, I am an instrument of love. Together, I am an instrument of love. Feel the truth of those words. Feel it resonating with every cell of your body. You know, as we look at our lives, we think about this idea of being an instrument of love. What is it? What is it about life that kind of gets in the way of being this instrument of love all the time, of being like our dogs who just seem to be loving us all the time? What gets in the way of that? What blocks it? What slows it down? You know, there have been many attempts to create utopian societies based on love and fellowship and friendship, and they get going for a while pretty well and do some fantastic things, but ultimately they don't seem to survive. Why is that? It's because somebody forgot the reason for them being together, that we are to be an instrument of love, and we allow other things to get in the way, like our ego and our stuff. I remember back when I was in college at Western Michigan University, home of the Broncos. How'd they do yesterday? Anybody see on TV? Not too many of you from Michigan here, huh? Well, I had a religion professor by the name of Guntram Bischoff, good German guy. He had come over after World War II to the United States and got his doctorate at Princeton. He was a brilliant man. I learned a lot from him. And I remember when I was taking this class from him, at that time, there was a lot of turmoil going on in the local Unity Church there in Kalamazoo, where I attended. The minister had gotten into trouble. He'd been fired by the board. The board was upset. People were upset. The church was divided right down the middle. And I happened to have been the minister's platform assistant. A lot of people coming up and talking to me and being the focal point of a lot of conversations. The palace intrigue was way too much for me. What is going on in this church? This seems so antithetical to what we study and what we teach and what we're following. And I went to my professor and I said, you know, in Unity we take this very positive approach to life and a very loving approach to life. I can't figure out why love is not the guiding force in our church right now. And he looked at me with that wisdom of a professor and he said, have you considered that a church is a human outfit? A human outfit. The human element. Human element. You know, if we humans are at the top of the spiritual food chain, you know, we think we're pretty good, right? We read in the Bible, you're created after the image and likeness of God. We're God's most prized creations. If we think this is true, of course, we had a big debate in our Lessons in Truth class about whether we really are that, whether we are the ultimate manifestation of God's sense of creation. We had pointed out that polar bears are actually a more recent development on planet Earth than human beings. And when I think of polar bears, I'm thinking top of the food chain. What about you? And I'm so glad they don't live in the Midwestern part of the United States, other than at zoos. I don't mind looking at them there. But if we really are this epitome of spirituality and love, why is there hate and discord and upset and conflict in our world? Is it this human element? And why in all places, a church place is supposed to be about love and spirituality and working on ourselves, is there this human element? Let's face it, folks. The human element, it's our homework, isn't it? It's our personal homework. It's what we're working on. And when we see hatred expressed, either by ourselves or maybe someone else, what is that? That is yet another opportunity for us to return to this idea that I am an instrument of love. And as an instrument of love, to then transform that human element that is blocking the flow of love and to open our hearts and allow the floodgates of love to pour out like water on a thirsty field. I had this demonstrated for me a couple of weeks ago when I came home from work. It had been a very long day at work here at the center. And I knew I was going to be getting home probably about 8 o'clock. And my wife Donna also had a very long day at her work. She was going to get home like 7:30 or so. And so we told our two teenage sons, well, we won't get home in time to make dinner, so go ahead and eat those TV dinners we bought the other day. And I figured in the whole equation, the whole scenario, that Donna would probably eat her TV dinner that she bought. Now, I don't eat TV dinners too much. Since about 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Boy, you wouldn't believe the amount of sugar they put in TV dinners. Oh. So I had all my plans in my mind made up of what I was going to eat. And I was going to have a great big salad with nice organic lettuce and chopped tomatoes and mushrooms and onions and celery and cucumbers. This is what I was going to have for dinner, because all the rest of them, you know, they're going to have what? They're going to have TV dinners. When I got home, I discovered that Donna had not eaten her TV dinner. She had made enchiladas. The human element began to creep into my consciousness. I said, "Weren't you going to eat your TV dinner?" She says, "Oh, I got home a little early. I had some energy. I made enchiladas." Uh-huh. "Oh, you don't have to eat them if you don't want to. I made some broccoli, too." Uh-huh. I was in a stew about this for a good hour. Oh, yeah. Because my mind was all locked into this scenario. I'm going to eat this big salad, you know. That's what I really want. So I went ahead and made my big salad because, you know, I had my heart set on it. And there I was making my big salad, and there was that tray of enchiladas and that broccoli right there, staring at me. I thought to myself, well, I guess I could eat a perfunctory enchilada, a little bit of broccoli. In the middle of it all, I finally realized what a total jerk I was being. Actually, in my notes, I put down the word butthead, but you know, that's not a very ministerial. But that's what I was being, because I hadn't recognized that what she was doing was lovingly making this food for me, and how much more I would enjoy eating an enchilada than this big salad I had my heart set on. That's what our program, I Am an Instrument, talks about as a little kindness. Just a little kindness is a way that we can be instruments of divine love in our world. But there's another thing that this program talks about, and it's called nettleness. You know what nettles are, right? You go out there and you step on it, and boy, all of a sudden you get what kind of a rash? Well, I went out in my yard today. I couldn't find any nettles, but I found a good substitute. Thistle. Now, from that distance there, it looks like something I'd put in my salad. I don't recommend it, because it's kind of barbed. You see, I'm holding it very carefully, because when I harvested it this morning, I felt the effects of touching this thistle. I had to overcome my nettleness, my thistleness, to be able to see the loving kindness that she was demonstrating to me. It took a while, didn't it, honey? I finally got over it. I overcame this nettleness, this thistleness, and realized what I needed to do. What did I do? I bet you can guess. I apologized for being that thing I described myself as being a little while ago. And reminded myself not to repeat that in the future. We all have stories like this to tell, don't we? A little one, maybe you had one happen this week. Maybe not too long ago. But what we learn from these lessons of life, this homework of life, this human element of life, is that we're here to be an instrument of love as much as we can. And not just occasionally, not just situationally or conditionally, but all the time. As John Selby Spong, who's been a speaker here in years past, has said in many of his writings, we are here in this world to love wastefully. Wastefully. What does that mean? It means to love even when we don't want to, even when we think it won't do any good. That's what's it about. Catherine Ponder, one of our premier unity writers, writes in her book, The Healing Secret of the Ages, she says, just as the heart equalizes the life flow in the body, so love harmonizes the thoughts of the mind, bringing peace to both mind and body. You connect your soul forces with whatever you center your love on. And so love is this power that gets us through those human element moments in our lives and transforms us. To put it in Star Trek terminology, the original Star Trek, love is the prime directive. It is the prime directive. But when will the world wake up to this truth? When will that happen? When will it take place? Well, maybe it will. Maybe it just has to happen. Can we imagine turning on our radios and hearing a broadcast like this one?
That was Kenny Loggins on WLUV, where we play only love music, 24 hours a day. And now, the news at the top of the hour from the Love Radio Network. Washington. A state dinner honoring Iranian President Mahmoud Thank you. I'll say it. Yes, I've said it all morning. I'll try it one more time. Ahmadinejad, never mind, you know who he is. He was at the White House on Saturday evening. President Bush had invited the Iranian leader in celebration of the peace accord now established among the various ethnic groups of Iraq and the withdrawal of coalition forces from the region. Yeah. During the traditional toast, President Bush invited President Ahmadinejad to his Crawford, Texas ranch for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, to which the Iranian president replied, "I heard you have, how do you say it, some big doggies on your ranch." To which the president replied, "You better remember to bring that light blue windbreaker. It gets a little chilly on the ranch in November." Dharamsala, India. Representatives of China and the Dalai Lama have reached an agreement paving the way for the Tibetan leader's first visit to his homeland since his escape following the Chinese occupation in 1959. This historic breakthrough has come on the heels of a heated controversy surrounding the naming of the next Dalai Lama. In a statement issued by the press secretary for His Holiness, he is quoted as saying, "Love can melt the hearts of anyone, even mine." Doha, Qatar. Al Jazeera Television played a new video issued by Osama bin Laden in which he apologized for Al-Qaeda's role in the September 11th attacks on the United States and subsequent attacks on Madrid, London, and Bali. This 180-degree turnabout in Al-Qaeda policy came without warning or provocation. Additionally, bin Laden proposed a new jihad to receive funds to benefit victims of the attack, saying, Allah is love, and so are we to limit the love of Allah? Off the record, sources tell the LRN network that bin Laden is simply tired of living in a cave in Afghanistan. He credits his spiritual breakthrough to much prayer and simple living. And this, just in from Jerusalem. And for that report, we go to our correspondent, George Whitten, who is standing in front of the Temple Mount. George, tell us what's going on. How y'all doing? Well, it's hard to believe that after literally a millennia, a new covenant has reached governing all the children of Abraham. In a move that has surprised all the experts, a unity government between the Israelis and the Palestinians is being formed, representing all the citizens of Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank. This new united country has been named Abraham, after the patriarch whom both Jews and Muslims claim and honor, with Jerusalem as its capital. Rand McNally and Michelin better get busy changing their atlases, for we've got themselves and ourselves a new country. Perhaps Jerusalem will finally live up to the meaning of its name, habitation of peace. reporting from Jerusalem. This is George Whitten on the Love Radio Network, reminding you that life is meant to be good. And now for local news.
Now, wouldn't that be cool to turn on your radio and hear that? Hold the vision is exactly right. And somebody ought to do something like that, right? Who's going to do it? Somebody ought to fix the world so that when we turn on the news, we don't hear all that usual stuff that we hear. Now, there actually is, and George pointed this out to me this past week, there is a website out there called goodnews.org. Goodnews.org. One more time, goodnews.org. Check it out, because on this they have like all this incredible, wonderful news from around the world. But this whole idea of creating love and peace on earth goes beyond somebody's well-intentioned website. It ultimately lands right here where each of us is. It is we who must step up to the plate and say, I'm going to be an instrument of love and peace in my world right now. And one of the ways we can kind of keep on track with this is to look at a piece of scripture that I think is one of the best parts of the Bible. It's the book of 1 Corinthians, 13th chapter. You've probably heard it before. It's something that I read almost at every wedding. I think if you go to a wedding, you'll probably hear this piece read, because it is so important. It's all about the quality of spiritual love. And if there's anything you want to press upon a couple who is beginning their journey, it's this idea that love is what's going to carry them through those moments of the human element that we run into in relationships. And so, for a moment, listen to these words. I may speak in tongues of men or of angels, but if I am without love, I am a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I may have the gift of prophecy and know every hidden truth. I may have faith strong enough to move mountains, but if I have no love, I am nothing. I may dole out all I possess or even give my body to be burnt, but if I have no love, I am none the better. And so what is love? Love is patient. Love is kind and envies no one. Love is never boastful, nor conceited, nor rude, never selfish, and not quick to take offense. Love keeps no score of wrongs, does not gloat over other men's sins, but delights in the truth. There is nothing love cannot face. There is no limit to its faith, its hope, and its endurance. Love will never come to an end. In a word, there are three things that last forever: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of them all is love. And so as we find ourselves in our lives, and we find ourselves maybe drifting into that thing we call the human element, check yourself out and see, am I really demonstrating the quality of love in my life? All we have to do is go back to this scripture here. Now, sometimes it's hard to remember 100 words. But can you remember 3? You look to the 14th chapter of 1 Corinthians, we find almost a summary of this whole idea here. And in the New English Bible, that chapter begins this way. Put love first. Put love first. We all have priorities in life. We've either thought about them and labeled them and written them down, or they just show up wherever we are. We, each of us, need to ask ourselves, and I know I need to ask myself, have I put love at the top? Because when we do, when love is the most important thing, and our relationship with the people being loving, all the other priorities sort of just fall in line. We don't even need to worry about them or think about them. It's by putting love first that we can demonstrate that we are an instrument of love, and do that as well as our dogs do. And now, I'd like to finish by sharing with you some poetry. It's by the poet James Dillett Freeman, our Unity Poet Laureate. In his book, Love, Love, Loving, he shares all about why we love in the poem, I Love to Love. He writes, I eat because by eating I am fed. I drink because it quenches my thirst. I breathe to keep from suffocating, but I love to love. And all my other reasons for loving are by comparison trifles. I eat and drink and breathe to live, but I love to live a life worth living. And without love I may perish as surely as without food or water or air, only more slowly, more painfully. For if I do not eat or drink or breathe, my body suffers briefly and kills me quickly, cell by cell. But if I do not love, my soul agonizes long and kills me lingeringly, hope by hope. Without love, I will not want to live, and I may do my utmost to make sure you do not want to live either. It is just as important for us to love as for us to be loved. I'm sure we all hope that the one we love will love us, but that is not why we love. We love not so that we will be loved in return, but because we need to love. We've all heard the old song, "The way to have a friend is to be one," and this is probably true. But it is not the main reason that we are friendly. We are friendly because that is the way we are made to be. We are made aching and longing not only to be befriended, but to be a friend. I do not love you in hope to be rewarded by my love. I love you out of the deepest needs of my own being. If I am not loved, I will not be happy, but if I do not love, I will not be human. Love is a natural force. We don't have to learn to love, although we may have to learn how. We came into this world wanting to be loved and to be loved, needing love as much as food and usually getting them together. To turn off our natural bent to be loving, we have to be denied, starved, thwarted, frightened, and crushed. And even then, with the least encouragement, we will start loving again.